Hey, Beach Church, Patrick Malone here. This is the Tuesday evening Bible study, July 22nd, 2025, and we're in the book of Ecclesiastes. We're looking at chapters 7 through 9. Just some quick notes on the book, good reminders. It literally means preacher, and it unmistakably points to Solomon as the preacher who, writing in his later years, tries to give advice to young people, but really to anybody who will read. And the advice is to avoid walking through life on the path of human wisdom. Instead, he exhorts them and us to live by the revealed wisdom of God. So the book attempts to answer some of life's most challenging questions, particularly where they seem contrary to Solomon's expectations in his own life. It's not a downer book of skepticism, although many think that. But it's written by a man who, despite much unwise thinking and behavior, never lost his faith in God. The key word of the book to remember is vanity, and it's applied to illustrate the truth that all earthly goals and ambitions, when pursued as ends in themselves, produce only emptiness. That's vanity. And that's probably similar to the Apostle Paul noting that the creation was subjected to futility. And Solomon's experience of that same thing led him to view life as a whole lot of chasing after the wind. In contrast to this futility, the book shows that if one perceives each day of existence, that you look at your work life and the basic provisions that you have, if you look at all of that as a gift from God, then you are living an abundant life. And Jesus said in John 10:10, he came to give life, and that life would be more abundant through him. So let's jump in. Chapter 7, verses 1 through 4. This is interesting. It speaks of the value of sorrow and sadness over partying, I guess, and joy and laughter as all being ultimately better for the human heart. Fools seem to be characterized as always laughing and partying. And I think this truth falls under the heading of I get it, I accept it, but I don't like it. I wish it were the other way around. Wouldn't it be nice if we learned our greatest lessons through the happy fun times? But that doesn't seem to be the case, probably because of sin. Verse 8 through 10 does a little contrast between having patience as opposed to being filled with pride or not being able to control your anger. Verse 14 suggests being joyful when things are going well, but when the bad comes, trust in God's sovereignty over all things. It's kind of a Job's idea of, hey, you got to accept the good with the bad. Verses 16 and 17, this is interesting, encourages us to kind of live in the middle. In other words, don't get excessive in anything good or bad. And then verses 27, 8, and 9 clearly warns that seeking righteousness through human means fails. You can't get right with God through your own effort. We know that. Only God can give righteousness. Now, in chapter 8, there are two main themes in this chapter. One theme is obey authorities for God's sake. And this is a nod again to God's sovereignty. You have to trust God's in control of things, despite how crazy it can look sometimes. And God allowed this person to be in authority, even if we don't like it. So we need to obey him. And then the other theme in chapter 8, the latter part of it is everybody's going to die. Death comes to all of us. And it's interesting too, verse 15 is often misused pardon me, to suggest that we should eat, drink, and be merry as pardon me, as much as possible. But not because everything is going to hell in a handbasket, but because life has some mysteries in it, like evil men prospering and good men seeming to fail, that when you have some good times, you may as well enjoy what you can enjoy. It's just some common sense things. But he's really saying that we should try to enjoy life despite injustices that we see around us, but still remain faithful to God. Now let's jump into chapter 9. Excuse me. One might sum up this chapter by saying that even though wisdom may not receive its due or its expected rewarding outcome in this life, it's still more valuable than folly because of the good it does. Now, on that note, I can't help but reflect upon recent events in the world of professional men's golf. The best golfer in the world today and the recent winner of the Open Championship in Ireland last weekend was Scottie Scheffler. Earlier in the week, at the start of the tournament, he was being interviewed and he waxed philosophically about the fleeting thrill of winning championships compared to the more important permanent things of life, such as being a good dad to his little boy. He struggled a bit to express it, and throughout the week received some criticism and from sports writers and in the world of social media. But here's the best golfer in the world who admittedly worked his whole life from the time he was a little boy to win golf championships, and he's downplaying the thrill of victory, not to mention the millions of dollars that he wins every time he wins. But he recognized something more important and true and real than being a winner in an endeavor. And it sounds a lot like Solomon, doesn't it? So, despite having said that, going into the tournament, he goes and wins the tournament anyway, and does so handily, I might add. And in the post-tournament interviews, he references his previous comments. He sticks to them, but he said it's still really cool to win. And this also makes me think of famous Oscar-winning actors and actresses, and their reputations end up getting tarnished because they have an awful personal life of failure after failure. They fail as a spouse. They're a terrible parent. The people they work with don't even like them very much. Contrast that with, let's say, a moderately successful actor who seldom, if ever, wins awards, but that person is never hurt by being successful on a personal level. And in the end, when that actor or actress or any famous person is near death, they're probably much more peaceful about children who respect them and love them than a million fans who might adore them one day and maybe not adore them the next. I learned recently that at some point a few years ago, Scottie Scheffler made a decision to make a clear separation between his professional golfing work and his personal family life with his wife. He might have been taking his work home with him a little too much and the pressures of it. And since then, that's when he started winning. So I suspect one day in the future, he will stop winning. And it sounds like he will have available what is more important than those victories. He'll have his family and friends around him because of how he treated them and the positive, encouraging influence he was in their lives. A final note that I just discovered before I recorded this is that I learned that Scottie Scheffler is a Christian and an outspoken one. He often speaks of his faith in Jesus Christ and credits his wife with helping him stay on course. He seems to have grasped the wisdom of Solomon in Ecclesiastes, and so may you and I. All right, that's it. God bless you all. Have a great day.